On my website is the Morgan curve animation, which shows the curve and how I found it. It shows the angles and everything involved with it and the X and Y axis. Then I have the photographs that show the close-ups because NASA didn't know about the curve. So when they took pictures of Cydonia again, they took a picture of the pyramid or portion of it that had the first 3 mounds to start out the curve. And because they took the close-up, now we can see details of the mounds, and that on the side of the pyramidal structure, there are these ridges that run down, one to each one of the mounds. And on my site, one of the pictures doesn't really show the rest of the pyramid, but there's in the full strip, if you get that and zoom in on it, you can follow from the third mound this ridge that goes all the way up and connects to a ridge that goes around the middle of it. There's an impact crater that kind of disrupt that ridge, but it's almost like it's a tunnel. Each one of these are tunnels that goes to some kind of structure at the bottom.
Keith, do you miss Ted Koppel?
Yeah, because Ted used to give me a ride to my car, and we talk about stuff, and sometimes Ted would go, "Okay, Keith, not tonight. I'll give you a ride. No talking."
Right.
Other nights he'd go, "Okay, Keith, tell me what's happening. What's the latest scoop?"
That's funny. That's funny. There's talk that he's going to do his own little television production company with Discovery or History or something like that. Have you heard that?
I'm just hearing rumors. I don't know what the true story is because he would have told me, though.
Sure.
I wanted to say that there's a whole bunch of stuff I'd like to talk about, but
not enough time. Too many calls.
I know. A whole bunch of time goes by. Okay, let's take another call.
You got that right. Let's go to our wild card line. You're on Coast to Coast. Hi there. Hello.
Hi, this is John from Caldwell, Idaho.
Well, welcome to the program, John, and the platform is yours.
Well, thank you. First of all, I'd like to say thanks for giving knowledge to the public, to both of you guys. And secondly, I've been a big Zachariah Simpson fan for several years now. I've just read everything through. I'm curious about what your speculation is, though, about when they do return. Are they going to be viewing us as a slave race like they used to, or do you think they're going to help us move into the future?
Good point. Good question. Keith?
Well, according to Inky, after the flood took place and his brother Enlil found the ark, if you want to call that, on the top of Mount Ararat and the humans alive, he said it must be destiny because when he found out the Cain's people had survived on the other side of the planet in Ras, he said, from now on, we will protect man. And he said, go forth, be fruitful, and multiply. And that, I think, they are just keeping an eye on us right now. And we're probably more of a social experiment to see how we survive with the multitude of melting pot that we live in. And I think that's what they're just watching, and they're waiting for us to advance to a point where we do learn what the message at Cydonia is, and we can say, okay, we now have learned this. We're ready for your next teaching. Come show us what's happening. I think that's what they're really doing right now. And I think it's going to probably be a point where we have to make that next step. The military can't come up with their next stealth plane that's going to be anti-gravity without saying, oh, yeah, the technology came from here. Philip Corso told us the truth. American Computer Company told us the truth about where they got the technology from. And I think that we need to really stop and think about where we're going to end up, because technology is never going to stop because we don't know it all. And even they were in awe of the power of when the flood took place, when the entire continental ice shelf fell into the ocean, creating a tsunami big enough to encompass the entire planet. And that's what caused the flood. So I think they're looking after us and probably protecting us. And whatever that world war that took place with the orbs in the sky back in the 1800s or whatever, it was probably them protecting us from something else.
Well, I wonder why they're not protecting us now. Let's go to our East of the Rockies line. You're up on Coast to Coast. Hi there.
Yeah, hi. This is Ron from Rochester.
Hey, Ron.
Hi. It's great. You're really shedding some interesting perspective on this, Keith. I really enjoy it. I've been a free energy researcher since 1991, and in fact, I presented Troy Reed's paper at the IECEC conference in Boston in 1991.
Cool.
So I've known him, and unfortunately, his devices and stuff really never made it. You realize he was funded to the tune of at least $2 million by Dennis Weaver, who's a distant cousin of his.
Oh yeah, I met Dennis. Richard and I met him when we were out there in Oklahoma.
Right, and it's real interesting because Troy got all this stuff through dreams, and he's a tremendous mechanic. But in terms of electricity and electronics, he really didn't have it. And the person who really has it, I'm sure you know, is John Bedini, because he's learned how to use the magnetic forces and pulse them, and that's really what Troy should have done in his motor. He should have been able to pulse electromagnets to get past that dead space.
Yeah, well, he was doing that with coils in his smaller version of it,
right?
Because the big version had mechanical repulsors to get past the first repulsion point.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to mention something about some of the publications, because one of the earlier callers said, well, where can we get information about this?
Mm-hmm.
And you probably know this as well, but Gene Manning wrote a wonderful book called The Coming Energy Revolution, The Search for Free Energy. And that book is out there. Donald Kelly wrote a book in 1987 called The Manual of Free Energy Devices. That's available. Explore Magazine publishes this stuff. George Weissman is someone who also does this.
The Hunt for Zero Point.
Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff out there. All somebody has to do today is Google on the internet. There were a lot of energy conferences back a few years ago, but Extraordinary Sciences still does this. They used to have it with the International Tesla Society, which unfortunately folded. All those things are out there. And
I had an idea for a motionless induction generator. I was going to give this to Art's audience, but somehow I got cut off when I was a caller. So I'm going to give this to George's audience.
Great.
I had an idea for a motionless induction generator, and this was after I learned about the circumscribed tetrahedral geometry and everything. And I had a theory, why not just push the field rather than spinning armatures through it? Well, 6 guys working together beat me to the punch, but they proved my theory that it would work. And they came up with a 200% efficient device. Now they got a 500% efficient device. But that was only one part of why I wanted to do that. If you can make a motionless induction generator, you should be able to make a motionless homopolar generator. And homopolar electrical generation was discovered by Michael Faraday back in 1831 when he discovered induction. He discovered that you could get electricity straight from a magnet without using induction. If you put a disc conductor on it, on a disc magnet, and you spin it all as one unit, you'll get a current to flow from the center of the disc to the edge of the disc. And Dr. Bruce De Palma, MIT, he brother of Brian De Palma, the film producer.
Been on the program.
Yeah. He created the N machine.
Mm-hmm.
And he was getting at a tenth of a volt, 8,000 amps out, and at 2.7 he was getting 15,000 plus amps out of this thing, and it was doing some fantastic stuff. So my theory is that I should be able to create a motionless homopolar generator. Because I talked to Bruce before he went to New Zealand, and I said, Bruce, did you ever think of offsetting the motor and gearing this up so it would spin at a higher RPM? He said, no. And then in Brian O'Leary's book, Energy in the Void, he has a piece in there about Bruce De Palma, had refined his end machine down to a beryllium rod with 2 disc magnets at each end, offset motor, spins this thing up to 70,000 RPM, and getting tremendous current out of it. So I'm thinking, okay, if I can make a motionless homopolar generator to give me the current and a motionless induction generator to give me the voltage, I could combine these two things. I bet you I could run my house off of a 9-volt battery for a month.
A 9-volt battery. I love it.
That's using a small amount of energy to tap into a larger source. The theory about magnets don't hold water that they have right now. I think what's going on is there's a hyperdimensional physics going on where there is a current flowing in the magnet once the material aligns. But you can't get to